You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply.
Before history is written, it's played. Before it's frozen in time, it's fought one shift at a time. Before it's etched in silver, it's carved in ice. What happens next will last forever. The Stanley Cup Final on ABC and ESPN Plus begins Saturday.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_daddy. Well, it's good to finally be back. Had a real nice trip. Everything went smoothly. No catastrophic issues, which is rare. It's also, I think, the first time we've taken some kind of a trip or vacation without a baby, which is just a very weird experience. But it all went well. Today, what I'd like to do more or less is just kind of get caught up. I've been out of the loop for quite a while. Been trying to sort of keep my eye on things, just checking the Twitters once in a while. It doesn't seem like a ton has been going on. We do have we got Matt LaFleur at the podium. We've got Jordan Love. We got a couple other news and notesy things, as well as C.J. Stroud saying some weird things. But I'm thinking that'll about get us caught up. We'll see how much of that we can rip through today. This may pour into tomorrow a little bit, which, again, is fine because there's just nothing going on. We do have next week the final little bit of something before we go dark. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is the Packers mandatory minicamp. Then we got ourselves a month of time to kill. So make sure you relish whatever we get. So let's start off with some of the signings. Justin Jefferson signed a 4-year, $140 million contract extension with the Minnesota Vikings. That one we talked about before, aside from teasing a little bit that, I don't know, drama. You know, it's funny when other people, but this was always going to get done. There was never any question about it. And yes, there is an element of, you know, I've talked about this before. It's always good and bad when people get signed. I mean, it's bad from a Packers standpoint because they locked up Justin Jefferson and he's being paid what he's worth. The positive side, obviously, is that that's going to take a hit on what they're allowed to do with their salary cap. Now, they don't have a ton of superstars right now, so I don't know that I'm going to lean too heavy into the you don't have any money, because they should have plenty of money. I mean, who are you paying? You don't even have a quarterback. So I don't think that's going to be a major issue. I think the real issue is, can you build up through the draft? That's it. I mean, you can't buy enough people to build a football team. You have to hit on a quarterback. You've got to, build up that defensive line. You've got to get corners. You've got to get safeties. You got to build a football team. And you're not going to do it through the salary cap. I mean, that's supplemental, but yeah, obviously that's going to put a little bit of a limit on if they decided to get reckless with the salary cap, which I would assume they wouldn't because of their GM. But then again, he's done the exact opposite of what you would expect an analytical GM to do for this past year. So I have no idea. That same day, June 3rd, Javon Bullard signed his contract, 4 years, $6.7 million. Fletcher Cox retired from the NFL, as did Jason Kelce officially. The next day, Christian McCaffrey signed his 2-year, $38 million contract. Obviously, a massive amount of money. And as many people have pointed out, it's not necessarily true that he reset the running back market. I mean, to some degree, he probably did, but this is so above and beyond that there's no reason to believe that this is a new floor for top running backs. This is, Christian McCaffrey is one of one. Tampa Bay Buccaneers center Ryan Jensen retired. Corey Linsley was actually released by the LA Chargers. And then shortly thereafter, he decided to retire. In other news, we got Tyreek Hill. One of my favorite things that I saw while I was gone. He said, I saw Tua at the Pro Bowl and I was kind of scared. He was fat as bleep. How skinny he got. What's the stuff everybody's taking? Ozempic? So apparently he saw Tua at the Pro Bowl and he was super fat. And then he came back and was skinny and speculated that it might be Ozempic, which isn't really the interesting part. First of all, hilarious. But I will say, if Tua was a Green Bay Packer, that would make me nervous. I mean, it's cool that he got super locked in and everything, but what is he doing in the offseason? He's obviously not training, unless he's trying to put on mass or something. I don't know, but that would make me a little bit nervous if the guy is just completely out of control, not training, not working, clearly not working out. But anyways, the main thing was, it was funny, and I wish I could say the full quote, but I can't. It's not as punchy when I say bleep, but you get it. Report from Sportskeeda, Minnesota Vikings quarterback, actually it comes from Seifert ESPN, but Minnesota Vikings rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy is, quote, squarely behind, unquote, Sam Darnold on the Vikings depth chart this offseason. Darnold has taken the majority of first-team reps, with McCarthy often coming behind Nick Mullins in the order. So presumably by squarely behind, they mean way behind, because they just went on to say he was behind Nick Mullins. Now, none of this really matters. Again, it's a way to kind of make fun of the Vikings if you're just looking for a way to get under their skin. But at the end of the day, I think the plan is Sam Darnold will be the quarterback. J.J. McCarthy is very obviously going to be number 2. Just because he's behind Nick Mullins right now doesn't mean anything. He's going to be the backup quarterback unless they carry 3 or something. And the plan is going to be for him to sit and learn and develop him and wait until they think he's ready, and then they'll put him out there. But in the meantime, LOL and whatnot. And then another report from Sportskeeda. Multiple teams expect the Pittsburgh Steelers to, quote, get a little weird at the goal line with quarterback Justin Fields, considering him in a shotgun package where he could play as a passer or a runner. Again, hilarious as Justin Fields screams at the top of his lungs, I swear I'm a real quarterback. It's funny because he's not. Seriously, guys, there's a competition. I might start, you never know. We also had Louis Riddick pop up, NFL and CFB in college football on ESPN, NFL alum, University of Pittsburgh graduate. Louis Riddick says, the NFC North is going to be fire for the foreseeable future. Youth, offensive firepower, improving pass rush, overall defensive play, must-see divisional matchup. He goes on to say, Packers defense will be most improved unit in the division. Cooper, Bullard, McKinney additions are home runs. Been saying it all offseason. They had Matt Harmon posted a video. He is a football writer and analyst for Yahoo, creator of Reception Perception, which is a website that kind of looks at receivers and how good they are and all that kind of stuff. But here was a little snippet talking about Dontavian Wicks.
Dontavian Wicks. Matt, there's just so much green on this guy's profile. The corner route, great. Out route was amazing, was awesome. Curl route, great. Post route, good. Dig route, good. One number that just obviously just flies off the page for me is the out route. 11% of his routes were out routes, and he has a 90% success rate.
I love the ability to work those in-breaking routes we talked about, right? The slant and the curl. His dig route success rate, 70.6%. That's solidly within the NFL average. But yeah, it's that ability to win on the out route that I thought was really fascinating. I don't know if Dontavian Wicks can be like a true number 1 receiver, but I do know that true number 1 receivers dominate both on vertical out-breaking routes and over the middle of the field. And we see Dontavian Wicks do that.
I think there's a lot about his profile that we could take away and say, yeah, this guy's interesting. Let's take a little deeper dive and see what year number 2 brings.
So the bottom line is, let's put it this way. If Dontavian Wicks was a first-round pick, everybody would be talking about him as a true number 1. The only reason that he isn't is because of where he was drafted. Now, that isn't me saying he is, because it would probably be an overreaction in the other direction if he was a first-round pick. But the bottom line is nobody wants to talk about this guy. He didn't get a ton of opportunities in Green Bay to play. Nobody really did because it's such a crowded room and injuries, et cetera, et cetera. It was just a constant revolving door of who's going to catch the ball, kind of similar to, 2011 Packers. But the bottom line is Dontavian Wicks has done nothing but go out and demonstrate that he is a very gifted wide receiver. So we'll see how it goes, but it is funny just watching these guys because, again, there's sort of this, everything the data says points in a really positive direction, but at the same time, do we really want to believe it? We'll see how it goes kind of thing, which is fair. But again, he's being somewhat discounted because he's Dontavian Wicks. Nobody even knows the name Dontavian Wicks outside of Green Bay Packers fans and, diehard NFL draft college football fans. But they're looking at the numbers and they're like, hey, this is what X, number one X receivers do. And this is what Dontavian Wicks does. And kind of like that meme from The Office with Pam where it's like, they're the same picture. So very excited to see some more Dontavian Wicks this year. We had Cole Kmet come out and praise Caleb Williams because of Top Golf and how competitive he is, which is, it's just funny because every time people come out with the most pathetic things, it's like, man, you just make it, you make it seem like things are not good. Like, can you imagine if somebody asked about Jordan Love and like what makes him so competitive? What is it about him that gives you whatever? And they're like, well, we went and did Top Golf this one time, and he was like super competitive. It was kind of crazy. It's like, oh Lord, this guy's gonna suck. It would never happen. There's actual real things, like as far as his work ethic, the way that he commands himself, the way he carries himself. That's what we always hear about Jordan Love. Even last year. From Ari Mirov, Bears tight end Cole Kmet says the one thing he's learned about Caleb Williams is how competitive he is. They were at Top Golf recently, and even though the place was about to close, Caleb insisted on finishing the game. They ended up staying there until 1 a.m. Kmet says he still won the game. So, hilariously enough, first of all, what I take away from this is Caleb is an entitled douchebag. When all the employees want to go home, they're wrapping up. It's one of those, like, when we went out to, by the way, shout out to Fogo, Brazilian Steakhouse. We got to partake. It was incredible. But we were there and we noticed they started packing stuff up and we were like, oh shoot, we got to go. We didn't realize they had closed. And so we were like, all right, let's, out of consideration. They want to go home. They've been working all day. They're tired. Apparently Caleb sees that and he's like, I don't give a crap. We're staying here as long as I want to stay here. And they stayed until 1 o'clock in the morning. So he's a scumbag. And then second of all, apparently he likes to run his mouth, but can't back it up because Cole Kmet said he still beat him. So he's an entitled scumbag that's all bark and no bite. Got it. Way to go on getting me hyped about Caleb. We stayed until 1 a.m. because he said so, and then he lost. Great story, Cole. Thank you for that. A little bit early, but why don't we take our first break because the next things are a little bit longer topics. First of all, there's the discussion of Brazil, and apparently I didn't really understand this, I guess, until I got back and kind of looked into it, what the heck everybody was talking about. But apparently there were some comments made about Brazil, and it seemed to me that there was confusion about the color thing and that it was gangs as opposed to rival football clubs. But I don't think that's not actually what the situation is. It has more to do with the fact that Josh Jacobs was given information about how dangerous Brazil is, and there's been a big backlash about that. And so I want to kind of talk about that a little bit as best as I can as far as all the context I can find behind it, and then also dig into this C.J. Stroud nonsense. So we'll take a break, and we'll be right back. What's going on, U.S. Cellular customers? I've got good news, so don't hit skip, at least not yet. I'm talking about their special customer event, Us Days. What is Us Days? It means exclusive offers just for their customers, just to say thanks, like $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. No, I didn't just misread that. They must really like you. Us Days at U.S. Cellular, exclusive offers just for you, just to say thank you. Right now, U.S. Cellular customers get $1,200 off any phone, plus $300 off any tablet. Terms apply. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. You know, in the hobby, it's not easy of being a fan of ripping packs or repacks. We always hype ourselves up thinking we're going to get some kind of a mint signed Jordan Love card or something. But with zero transparency on available cards and hit rates, it's all just a shot in the dark. That is until now. Introducing slab packs from arenaclub.com, the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. Now when I buy slab packs on Arena Club, I finally feel like I know what I'm getting. I don't know if you saw the video me and my son did. That was us on arenaclub.com looking for new cards for my kid. Still on our YouTube channel. You should check it out. They have an incredible website. Slab packs are way better than mystery packs. Immediately after your pulls, they put your cards safe in a vault. So whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club's got the card collection platform that you have to check out. Right now, you can get 10% off your first purchase by going to arenaclub.com/packdaddy. That is a crazy offer. 10% off a $400 slab pack. That's $40 right there. Anyways, that's arenaclub.com/packdaddy for 10% off your first purchase.
Now's the time to save 30% on wedding jewelry, only on BlueNile.com. Make sure your wedding ring is the one with your pick of diamond and lab-grown diamond bands, all hand-finished and graded for excellence. Or surprise her with something blue she'll love for life, like a stunning pair of sapphire earrings. Blue Nile's jewelry experts are available 24/7 to help, from fit questions to style advice. Right now, get up to 30% off at BlueNile.com. BlueNile.com.
All right, so let's get started with the full context here from the mouth of Josh Jacobs. He was on the podcast with Chris Long. He got asked about Brazil. Here is that little snippet.
I got to ask you, you're going to open the season against my Eagles down in Brazil, man. What are you most excited about?
You know, they said that the part of Brazil we going to, you can't even wear green at.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
They said, like, I guess something to do with the gangs and stuff.
Oh, dude, I'm not going. I'm not going.
They said we're not going to Rio. We going to. They told us they was like, man, it's one of them places where they probably won't even let us leave.
A full team.
Oh, damn, I'm not going, dude. No.
Eagles and
I was
Green
picturing.
Bay.
Oh, green. That's
Wait, what color?
green?
Yeah, what color green?
They probably gonna have like armored vehicles following us. I said, bro, why are we out here? Why are we here?
I'm picturing Josh Jacobs like hanging out on the beach,
Right.
but it doesn't sound like that kind of trip.
Bro, I was looking forward to it. I'm like, man, it's about to be a fun week. They got telling us all of that. They're like, yeah, nah, it's not going to be like that. I'm like, yeah, all right.
All right, so cancel that trip. All right, we good.
Glad we got the inside.
Just so I know, what's the color of the other gang?
I have no idea. That's what I asked.
Josh-
Figure that out. Literally the same question I asked. I said, bro, so they was like, man, look, just pack just black and white colors, because they was like, man, when you come out here, we don't want no mishaps.
Oh, that's wild, dude. All right. That's funny.
The color of the flag, I'm like, the flag is green. Like,
So a couple things I wanted to point out, because Josh Jacobs is being sort of demonized for this, and I don't really fully understand why. And the biggest reason that I say that is because he's not just making off-the-cuff comments. These are obviously things he was told from the league. This isn't just some friend. He was talking about specific direct instructions that he was given, and went so far as to say, when you come down here, meaning it sounds like this is also coming from probably the arena in Brazil. They're saying, do this and don't do this because we don't want any problems when you come down here. This is not just Josh Jacobs going, I don't know, man, I hear it's a ravenous, disgusting wasteland full of criminals and psychos. Like, that's not what happened. He's just repeating what he was told. He said he was very excited to go down there, and then he was told all the precautions because it's dangerous, and he freaked out. That's it. So Josh Jacobs did issue an apology for saying it, and It's not that I don't know why. I'm sure he was told he needed to. He said, "Damn, I was misinformed. Sorry, Brazil. See you soon." Well, again, I don't even know why he's saying he was misinformed. Misinformed about what? About what you were told to do? Now, look, Sao Paulo is a unbelievably massive city. The estimated population in 2024 is almost 23 million people. In 2020, apparently, it was 12.4, and in the 50s, it was just 2.3. So it is exploding, the population there. It's one of the largest cities in the world. So in a sense, when you look at the amount of crime, it's going to be astronomical, even if it's just a small percentage of the population. In cumulative numbers, the amount of murders and muggings and everything else that goes on is going to be through the roof. The actual murder rate, which isn't going to make it any less scary. I mean, if there's murders going on all around you, it's going to be terrifying or violent criminal acts. But per 100,000 inhabitants, it's 6.1 per 100,000. That's on par with like San Diego and Austin, Texas, and Portland, Oregon. Apparently, it used to be 52.5 per 100,000, so it used to be a very, very, very dangerous city, but the murder rate has plummeted. Interestingly enough, one of the things that Brazil is also known for that is seen as a negative is the incredibly violent police force, which I don't think is a coincidence. As the police violence has increased, the crime has decreased. But be that as it may, it has. The one thing, though, that it sounds like is really bad there is thefts and robberies. Robberies occur every 5 minutes, theft every 2.5 minutes. So, as a team that comes in filled with multimillionaires, it would make sense that you would want to take precautions and let people know, and as I said, probably not going out and doing stuff, which again, I'm sure came from the league. You're not going to be leaving the hotel and going out and partying. You are not allowed to do that. Presumably. Don't know. And I understand people are touchy about it because he said something and it seems disparaging to a group of people. And I certainly understand Brazilians being offended by it because you should be. It's your country. It's your city. You should be proud of your country and your city, and you should stand up for them. But regardless, the fact that we want to be so sensitive that we decide to turn all our ire on Josh Jacobs, who's just telling us what he was told from the NFL and from presumably Brazilians. I mean, give me a break. It's a massive city. It is dangerous. All big cities are fraught with crime and danger of some kind. Here is what one account on social media said, which I thought made a lot of sense. It was Eagles Brazil. It wasn't an overreaction toward a football player, just explaining things. So the first part went through the color thing and said it's not about gangs, it's about the soccer teams. He goes on to say, Sao Paulo is a vast metropolis, one of the largest in the world. Like many other big cities, it faces social inequity and crime. Any foreigner should be mindful of this, just as someone from a small town in the U.S. would be cautious when visiting cities like New York or L.A. This doesn't mean you'll be targeted for wearing green. However, like any big city, there's a risk of being mugged if you're not careful with your belongings or surroundings. For millionaire football players, there are certainly additional precautions to consider. It's sensible to advise players to be cautious and use only authorized transportation. However, telling players not to wear green is unnecessary, and the gang reference reinforces stereotypes that only escalates prejudice. We hope that NFL Brazil can show how Sao Paulo is welcoming the fans and how our NFL fan community is ready for a party like no other. I don't necessarily understand the fact that it reinforces stereotypes. What stereotypes? The anti-green gang stereotype? It's a random stereotype. If you mean just gangs, I mean, well, yeah, obviously there's a lot of gangs there. It's not really debatable, is it? Is it an incorrect stereotype? The only thing that could be misconstrued is the fact that Sao Paulo, Brazil is significantly more dangerous than major cities in the United States. And it may be, right? The murder rate is higher than New York City. And again, the muggings and robberies and whatnot are obviously a very serious issue. But again, I just don't understand coming down on Josh Jacobs with this. He flat out said, it's not like he was prejudiced and was like, I'm not going there, man. I bet there's a bunch of gangs and whatnot because, those people are scary and crazy down there. I mean, he didn't just make up prejudiced stuff to say. He's like, I'm really excited about going down. I'm going to have a great time in Brazil. And he was told, nope, you're not, because it's too dangerous. And then he was like, oh, dang, that sucks. And I'm scared now. Anyways, leave Josh Jacobs alone. That's all I'm trying to say. Also forgot to mention a pretty serious situation for the Kansas City Chiefs. Defensive tackle B.J. Thompson apparently had a seizure and then went into cardiac arrest. The latest update that I've seen on that came from his agent, Chris Turnage, after he visited him at the hospital. He said BJ is still unconscious at this point, but he's stable and vitals are good. His family asks for your continued prayers. So obviously, as always, some things bigger than football. So very hopeful that he's going to be okay and can return and, be healthy. Very serious situation. But all right, let's talk about C.J. Stroud and how much he hates Aaron Rodgers. Because he went on a podcast and just decided he was just going to take every dig at Aaron Rodgers that he possibly could. So C.J. Stroud went on a podcast, the $1 Million Worth of Game Show, which is a weekly podcast with rapper Gilly Da King and Wallace Peoples, also known as Wallow267. But here's the first stupid take.
I ain't talking about Tom Brady. If you had to pick a career to have, I'm going to have Aaron Rodgers' career or I'm going to have Eli Manning's career. Who career are you taking?
You want the rings, dog. You don't want.
That's all that matters, the rings.
Eli got two.
Guess what fans don't celebrate?
So first of all, whoever that guy is, who presumably is hosting the podcast, is beyond obnoxious. First of all, why are you screaming at me? Second of all, if the only thing that matters is rings, Mr. Host of the podcast, why did you not pick guys that have more rings? Why didn't you just pick Tom Brady? All of a sudden you agree with that take, apparently. You just said you would take Aaron Rodgers, who has 1, or Eli Manning, that has 2. Whatever. But I cut off the rest of that clip because the answer came out for C.J. Stroud. He would take Eli Manning because he has 2. Now, look, there are times when I feel like I have to argue a case that's really tough. There are times when I've tried to argue my case in this podcast and I feel like I'm losing, and I'm only arguing with myself. There's nobody here, and I'm losing the debate. It's like, as I'm saying it, I'm like, I don't think this is persuasive enough. This is the other end of the spectrum. And I've already made myself clear on this whole thing. The only thing that matters is rings and all that kind of stuff. Is Super Bowl trophies, whatever. I think it's complete and utter nonsense, and I think everybody knows it. The only fans that say that are fans that suck, that don't want to admit that they suck. So they make fun of, they're like Bears fans making fun of Packers fans because, well, you didn't win a Super Bowl. The only thing that matters is Super Bowl. No, that's nonsense. Why did you cry harder than us this past season? To pretend that they wouldn't enjoy a amazing season like the Packers had because it didn't end with a Super Bowl is just a flat-out lie. To pretend that they wouldn't be ecstatic if their season in 2024 ended up the same as the Packers last year, where Caleb Williams ended up playing as well as Jordan Love did, and they go to the playoffs and they eviscerate one of the better teams in the playoffs in that first playoff round. No, they're going to be real happy about it. But as far as this take, come on, man. This is the other end of the spectrum in terms of difficulty of trying to articulate the position. You'd rather have Eli's career because he has 2 rings as opposed to Rodgers, who has 1. So similar to the fan argument, are you saying that every single thing about your career only comes down to the Super Bowls? And if you are, for example, the last time the Texans had a really good quarterback, his name was Deshaun Watson. He didn't win any Super Bowls. It wasn't his fault. He was incredibly good. The team around him sucked. Should we think less of you if that's a similar situation, if you're in Houston and despite you being a top 10, top 5 quarterback for the entirety of your, let's say, 10 to 15-year career, you never win a single Super Bowl? Should that weigh less on your legacy? Are you saying that you get no enjoyment out of anything that you do and the only reason you do it is for the hopes of someday winning a Super Bowl? I'm not going to bother even looking it up. Let's just say hypothetically, because everybody knows about Foles, right? Actually, no, how about this? Would you rather have Jerick McKinnon's career or Barry Sanders' career? Jerick McKinnon, if you didn't know, was the running back for the Kansas City Chiefs last year. Not their number one running back, but why does he need to be? In fact, he took one snap in the Super Bowl, and it wasn't even a rushing play. I don't know what he did, but he was out there presumably blocking or something. I don't know. But he's got a ring. And look, over the course of his career, he's got nearly 3,000 yards rushing, 4 yards per carry, 15 touchdowns, and 4 fumbles. He's played for 3 different teams. He's been with the Kansas City Chiefs now for 3 years, so technically he has multiple Super Bowls. In fact, last year in the Super Bowl, he had 8 snaps, 4 attempts, 34 yards. So in 2 Super Bowls, he has run the ball 4 times for 34 yards with 0 touchdowns and 0 fumbles, and has 2 Super Bowl rings. Would you rather have Jerick McKinnon's career or Barry Sanders? And if you're saying, well, quarterback is different, then it sounds to me like what you're saying is because the quarterback is more impactful. But that's not an automatic. What if you're a quarterback with a ring and it wasn't you that did it? For example, Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos where he was basically dragged to and through the Super Bowl. Do we not count that Super Bowl because he wasn't the one that made it happen? Does that one not count for him? Would you rather be Nick Foles than Dan Marino? Would you rather have Marquez Valdez-Scantling's career over Randy Moss's career? Now, he didn't elaborate a ton, so it could be a matter of he really thinks Eli's a really good quarterback. But that's just kind of crazy. Eli Manning will never be regarded as good of a quarterback as Aaron Rodgers. He's never had as many good games. He's never had as many good seasons. He's never been as gifted, as talented. The only thing he has on him is one more ring. And as much as that might seem like a massive discrepancy, like how could a guy that's so much better have one less ring? It's very simple. Super Bowls are team accomplishments. I can't imagine anybody saying that Eli Manning enjoyed a more lucrative, exciting, and fun career than Aaron Rodgers did. And reducing everything down to rings is just silly to me. And again, it's disrespectful to people who didn't win Super Bowls, who had unbelievable careers. Dan Marino, obviously, Sanders, Moss, Bruce Smith, Jim Kelly, Eric Dickerson, Tony Gonzalez, LaDainian Tomlinson, Junior Seau, Fran Tarkenton. Lots and lots and lots and lots of elite players have not won Super Bowl. Many elite players in the NFL today still have not won Super Bowls because they're on teams that are not necessarily conducive to that. I would say there's a very good chance Justin Herbert is never going to win a Super Bowl. Now, we're a long way off and a lot of things can happen, but based on the way that team has been running, he's probably never going to win a Super Bowl, which is unfortunate for him because he's a very good quarterback. There's an article from USA Today talking about it, talking about how, yes, Super Bowls are part of the discussion, et cetera, et cetera. It says, yes, Rodgers has just the one Super Bowl with the Packers in 2010, while Manning has 2 from 2007, 2011. Manning's team beat the Packers on the way to both Super Bowl championships. And it says, but Rodgers beats Manning everywhere else from All-Pros, Pro Bowls, touchdown passes, and just winning in general. That's why Rodgers will be a first-ballot Hall of Famer. Meanwhile, Manning, who is just 117 and 117 in his career, had 0 MVPs, 0 All-Pros, had over 100 fewer touchdown passes than Rodgers, 139 more interceptions than Rodgers, and a passer rating 20 points worse than Rodgers. What are you even talking about? But that isn't all. Then C.J. Stroud goes on a tirade about Matthew Stafford, essentially being his favorite quarterback, and then, again, just decides to throw in a shot at Aaron Rodgers.
Stafford, Stafford another one, bro. He might be up there with Brady and them, bro.
No, come on.
No,
bro.
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's
that was
crazy.
crazy.
Let me go back. Hey, because look, look, dog, hold on. Before you do all this shit, I'm a student of the game. Stafford a dog.
He is a dog.
No, you don't understand, bro. You saying that. That's all I watch. I don't watch nobody else. I watch Mahomes at times because Mahomes does some stuff that like you can't coach. Stafford, dog, he will beat you with the same thing every time. All that no-lick stuff, I got that from bruh. Like, look, that's one of my big, like, I'm a fan of his, like.
And
when I
he's
go to
a
LA,
great quarterback.
I be trying to find, bro.
But
like,
it's
we got the
levels
same
of
trainers. I
greatness.
be trying to, like, go to where they working out and just watch.
That's all I'm saying.
Elite, dog.
Like Charles Barkley.
Hold on. If you give Matthew Stafford a chance like Aaron Rodgers, I guarantee he might have had more rings, for sure. I think Matthew Stafford.
Matthew Stafford had more ring than Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he have another ring probably.
I'd say he had like 3, 4.
He might. It's possible.
Bro.
He good. But what I'm saying is it's levels of greatness. You got this.
All right, so, again, he goes on a tirade about Matthew Stafford. He really likes Stafford. Stafford is a good quarterback. I think he's been underrated. I don't know if he still is or not. I really don't know. But while he was in Detroit, the team was so terrible, he didn't get the respect that he deserved. For, again, obvious reasons. Nobody really cared about Detroit and everything else. But to act as though he would have had 3 or 4 Super Bowls, not only is that a commentary, because he could have picked a lot of other teams. He chose Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. So not only is he saying that Matthew Stafford is really good, he's also going out of his way to say that Aaron Rodgers was the reason that the Packers didn't win more Super Bowls. Now, you can maybe make that case somewhere at some time, but I don't think it's a secret. Most of the losses for the Packers in the postseason were not the fault of Aaron Rodgers or even the offense in general. A lot of times, especially early in Rodgers' career, it was despite Aaron Rodgers that they lost. Now, there were certainly times when Rodgers was very much to blame, but you don't think Stafford would have a bad... Do you think Stafford didn't have bad days? He has very few playoff appearances to actually look at because he's only been in LA for 3 years. One of them, he was injured, so he's been there essentially 2 years. And then it was all Detroit, who just was allergic to the playoffs. If you look at this past year, played 1 playoff game against Detroit. He actually did play very, very well. He had an 88 PFF grade. The game before that, against the Giants, Week 17, 49 PFF grade. So, if you want to argue that he just turns it on for the playoffs and is elite and all that stuff, you can do that just because there's no evidence to the contrary, because there's almost no evidence of him in the playoffs, period. But dude had bad days and would have had bad days in the postseason. And again, it's just a weird thing to say because, again, there are ways to compare quarterbacks. You can just look at the two of them. And to say that Matthew Stafford is better than Aaron Rodgers, again, it's a weird person to specifically pick on. Hello, telephone. Just use a different example. Why do you go out of your way to say Aaron Rodgers or the Green Bay Packers? He would have had multiple, not just one more, which, by the way, assumes that he definitely would have won the 1 Super Bowl Aaron Rodgers got. But not only that, he would have won not just 1 more, but 3 or 4 Super Bowls, which, he's explicitly saying Aaron Rodgers was holding back the Packers. This guy has got a serious bone to pick with Aaron Rodgers. My goodness. Anyways, why don't we take a quick break? I want to kind of go through this a little bit more. We may not have time to get through all the press conference stuff, which is fine. I'm sure I've done this before in the past. We're kind of getting to a point in the podcast where it's like we're going to go do a deep dive, and it's one that's probably been done before, but we're going to do it again, possibly in a different way. I don't know. But I just want to answer this specific question. Not that it necessarily needs to be. I don't think too many people agree with the take, but it's certainly worth looking at because, again, I think to some degree Aaron Rodgers was given too much credit. And the idea that he would have had multiple if it wasn't for everybody else is nonsense. He had some fantastic teams that he worked with, and he had some times where the Packers lost with him playing at his best, and other times the Packers lost with him not playing very good. But let's at least try to address this head on. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at marines.com.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
If you're an athlete, you know the greatest motivator of all is the fear of letting your teammates down. After all, a team is only as good as its weakest link. So you owe it to those wearing the same jersey as you to be your best every time you step on the field. That's why there's no vape in team. When you vape, you can expose your lungs to toxic chemicals that can damage your lungs. If you're a step behind, the team's a step behind. Brought to you by The Real Cost and the FDA.
Have you ever experienced turbulence on a flight and wondered why?
And you can see all the terrain around you. You've got no issue with visibility or anything?
No, everything's PG.
Maybe you've sat on the tarmac for hours wondering why your plane isn't moving.
Well, we're outside here. They're saying the ramp is closed. They won't let us park because of Air Force One.
Listen in on the conversations between pilots and air traffic controllers on the Air Traffic Out of Control podcast.
510 Whiskey declaring an emergency. There's smoke in the cabin. I need to make a landing right now on 31 left.
We have the most interesting, wild, and funny ATC recordings you will ever hear. Check out Air Traffic Out of Control wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
All right, so I would assume that most people would not try to debate that Aaron Rodgers has been a better quarterback than Matt Stafford. If you look at their head-to-head, meaning the times Stafford played Rodgers, the record for Rodgers is 13-4 compared to Stafford's 14-3. If you look at just, you know how they do the side-by-sides where it's like which one goes toward Rodgers, it's all Rodgers. I mean, just down the line. Some are useless, some are useful. Games played, Rodgers. AV, Rodgers. Quarterback, QB record, Rodgers. Completion percentage, Rodgers. Yards, Rodgers. Yards per attempt, Rodgers. Yards per game, Stafford. Touchdowns, Rodgers. Interceptions, Rodgers. Passer rating, Rodgers. Rushing attempts, Rodgers. Rushing yards, Rodgers. Rushing yards per attempt, Rodgers. Rushing touchdowns, Rodgers. Fantasy points, Rodgers. Championships, tie. Pro Bowls, 10-2, Rodgers. All-Pro, 5-0, Rodgers. MVPs, 4-0, Rodgers. Super Bowl MVPs, 1-0, Rodgers. If you look at not only interceptions, but pick sixes, Rodgers has thrown 4, Matthew Stafford has thrown 30. Touchdown percentage, Rodgers. Interception percentage, Rodgers. Adjusted net yards per attempt, Rodgers. Yards per completion, Rodgers. Less batted passes, Rodgers. Bad throw percentage, the lower one meaning, Rodgers. Pressure percentage, who was pressured more? Rodgers was pressured more. Yards per scramble attempt, Rodgers. So I don't know, not that there aren't, a couple stats that lean toward Stafford, especially in terms of volume. He threw the ball a ton. I can't imagine anybody on planet Earth, PFF, very heavily favors Rodgers, from their grades to their stats to everything. I can't imagine anybody could seriously try to make an argument that Stafford has been a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. And again, you can say, well, the teams weren't as good. I didn't just list team stats. Some of these are individual stats that have to do with accuracy and precision and all that stuff, like literal accuracy stats. But all right, let's leave all that behind. Let's just assume, no. That's not what he's talking about. He's specifically saying in the postseason, Rodgers was a choke, and had Stafford been given those same opportunities, Matthew Stafford would have 3, 4, whatever, Super Bowls. Now, I want to be clear. Number one, Matthew Stafford, in the very limited amount of time he spent in the playoffs, has been quite good in the playoffs. And Aaron Rodgers was not as good of a playoff quarterback as he was a regular season quarterback. Both of those things are true. I think you could even argue that Matthew Stafford, again, in his limited amount of time in the playoffs, has been a better quarterback. I'm not stating that. I'm saying it's arguable, depending on which stats you want to look at, that he's been a better quarterback in the postseason. But let's look at Aaron Rodgers, the guy that apparently sabotaged his own team, and had Matthew Stafford been given the same opportunities as Aaron Rodgers, he would have had 4 or 5 Super Bowls. This is Aaron Rodgers in the postseason with all 62 quarterbacks that have had at least 200 passing attempts. By the way, Matthew Stafford is included in that. 62 quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers is 8th in completion percentage. These are postseason stats. 8th in completion percentage, ahead of guys like Josh Allen, Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Steve Young, Bart Starr, Brett Favre, Eli Manning, many others. Not that the cumulative stats matter as much, but it should be noted he is 4th in yards, and he is 2nd in touchdowns for the postseason. He is actually 1 ahead of Brett Favre. In touchdown percentage, he is 9th, ahead of guys like Matt Ryan, Brett Favre, Josh Allen, Drew Brees, way ahead of Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott, Dan Marino, Tom Brady. Interception percentage, 7th best. Again, out of 62. 62 guys that have spent a ton of time in the playoffs. These are all, for the most part, good quarterbacks. You've got, again, Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Phil Simms, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Joe Flacco, Phillip Rivers, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson, Steve Young, Joe Montana, Donovan McNabb, Kurt Warner. I'm just reading them off so we're clear on who he's ahead of. Because usually when we do PFF, if I just read everybody that they're ahead of, you're reading guys that shouldn't even be in the NFL. Troy Aikman, Warren Moon, Dan Marino, Ben Roethlisberger, Brett Favre, Andrew Luck, Johnny Unitas, Jake Delhomme, Jim Kelly, on and on and on. Passer rating, 6th. Now again, Matt Stafford is actually 4th. Aaron Rodgers' passer rating is 100.1, Matthew Stafford is 101.7. So again, you could maybe try to argue that Matthew Stafford was a little bit better in the postseason. But you can't argue that Aaron Rodgers was bad in the postseason. He is easily one of the better postseason quarterbacks of all time. By the way, Bart Starr, 2nd, 104.8, behind only Pat Mahomes. How about that for a stat? Adjusted net yards per attempt, he is 6th. Matt Stafford is 2nd, behind only Kurt Warner. By the way, Pat Mahomes is 3rd, so is Matt Stafford better than Mahomes? And would they have won, even more Super Bowls with Stafford than Mahomes? Maybe, I don't know. Ask C.J. Stroud. He knows this stuff, apparently. Success rate, success rate on passing plays, 9th. I mean, I don't know that there's a single thing he isn't top 10 in. Matthew Stafford is 2nd. Hilariously, you know who's 1st? Nick Foles. Another guy that's done jack squat except dominate the postseason. If you want to look at a guy who is maybe the best postseason quarterback of all time, especially when you talk about how they perform postseason as compared to their standard self, it's not even close that it's Nick Foles. Not even close. So, anyways, all that essentially to say, these random shots at Aaron Rodgers are really weird. And no, I don't believe that if Matthew Stafford had been the quarterback all those years with the Green Bay Packers, that they would have had 4 or 5 Super Bowls. I don't believe that. There were certainly times when Aaron Rodgers was not the best. You could argue that he was part of the reason that the Packers lost in the postseason, certain seasons. But he is still one of the better postseason quarterbacks. And even if you want to say that Matthew Stafford is better, he's marginally better in the postseason. Marginally, if at all. That does not move the needle multiple Super Bowls. In fact, I think it moves the needle 0 Super Bowls. The gap between a 100.1 and a 101.7 is negligible. For reference, if you were to look at a passer rating in a game, if you had 30 attempts, 20 completions, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception, that would put you at roughly Aaron Rodgers' passer rating of 100.1. It's actually like 100.7, but whatever. Do you know what you have to do to bump up 1.4 points? 10 more yards. In fact, if you were to add 1 more completion, it bumps the passer rating 2.8 points. So, yes, negligible is a kind way of putting that. All right, why don't we just leave it at that? We'll get to the press conferences and stuff tomorrow, and that'll be that. Should be just about caught up. You guys have a good rest of your day. Hopefully, if everything has gone as planned, I've started something a little bit new, a little bit funky. If not, hopefully we're doing it tonight. That is Packernet Jeopardy. If you don't know what it is, shame on you. Go subscribe over on YouTube, Packernet Podcast, and you'll be able to play along as well. But you guys have a good rest of your day, night, whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.